Hello, my friends. How are we doing? Happy Wednesday. Welcome. If you are new here, my name is Keith, and I am your meditation teacher here on Meditation Breaks. That's this channel. And I'm the only meditation teacher on this channel, so this is what you got. On this channel, we focus on a lot of different types of meditation, a lot of different things we can do with it. Often you might be introduced to meditation in an effort to relax. We focus a lot on that, but we also kind of dovetail that into some other really cool things you can do with this technique. And so each week we have a topic. And this week's topic, we're talking about using meditation to kind of find balance, mental balance throughout the day. And we'll talk more about that. But if you're new and you're like, hey, I just don't really know anything about meditation, so I'd like to start at the beginning, good news. I always start at the beginning. So we will begin today, as we always do, with an introduction to meditation. What is it? What does it mean? Why does it work? How do we do it? And then we'll do a short little breathing meditation together. You probably heard of breathing meditation. It's pretty common these days. And then after that, we will get into our topic and then do another meditation. So it's like talk, meditate. That's our cadence. Cool? All right. Eileen, welcome back. Okay, so let's get started. What is meditation? This is a word we all kind of have heard it before, right? I mean, you're here. Hey, Nessa. So when we think about the word meditation, almost instantaneously, generally the image that pops up is somebody sitting on the floor, cross-legged, eyes closed. They look pretty calm. You know? Hey, Beverly. So that's the image that we have. I mean, if you did a search for like meditation on your phone, like the emoji pops up. That's exactly what I just described, right? Patricia, hey. So this is the image. We'll call like a general image of meditation. And this is a form of meditating. Sitting quietly with your eyes closed, focusing on your breath. This is a style of meditation. It's called breathing meditation, right? But this is not the definition of meditation. That's just a way to meditate. So the definition of meditation, we're going to expand a little bit what we think qualifies as meditation. The definition is it's a technique to train your mind in becoming familiar with something. Familiarity is a huge component of meditation. You can actually kind of think of them as synonyms almost. We're familiarizing ourselves with something. Now you might be like, okay, well, familiarizing my mind is an interesting phrase that I'd never use, right? Yeah, we don't use it. But we do it all the time, right? Think of all the things that used to be unfamiliar to you that are now quite familiar. Walking, riding a bike, right? Driving. Remember driving when you first started? And you got in the driver's seat, you're all nervous, and then you're like, oh, there's a lot of things in here. There's buttons and mirrors and multiple pedals. I thought there'd just be one. Yeah, like it was overwhelming at first. But now, we've been driving a really long time. We are very familiar with the mechanics, both mental and physical, needed to drive. And so if I were to ask you, hey, drive down the street, you could do it without much effort. Right? So the more familiar we are with something, the more naturally it comes to us, the less effort it takes for it to kind of pop up. Right? So we think about relaxation, which is, almost always why we get into meditation in the first place, to be less stressed, be happier, Sometimes we can think meditation is doing this for us. Meditation equals happiness. Meditation equals less stress. But really what's going on is meditation is teaching you to become really familiar with relaxed you, happy you, right? Relaxed and happy you is in there. And, depending on our own situations, it might not come up might not surface as much as we'd like it to. Be nice if it surfaced all the time. But it's in there for each one of us. And through this technique, through training in meditation, we can become so familiar with relaxed you that you don't have to try so hard to have it show up. It just kind of is there. It's showing up more often, right? Less effort. Same as driving a car, same as riding a bike, same as learning to walk. All these things that we now don't have to put a lot of thought into, we can have that be the same for being relaxed, being calm, being happy. So that's kind of the wider lens of what meditation is. And that's all well and good and sounds cool. But how do we get started with something, so robust like that? Sekya, I hope I'm saying that right. I think that sometimes we think it's like, if I meditate, meditation equals happiness, right? But it's a conduit. Meditation is a conduit to kind of take hold of what is, or you already have, right? We already have this peacefulness inside of us. It's just, it doesn't come up that much. We want it to come up more, Now, and if you think about like getting frustrated, man, that pops up pretty easy, huh? We don't have to really try to get frustrated. I don't know anybody who's like, hold up, I got to try to get frustrated. Right? Our mind has had a lot of practice getting frustrated, and so it pops up pretty naturally, right? Our mind just does what it has learned to do. And so we're going to try to tilt the scales. We're going to talk a lot about this kind of concept of tilting the scales back in favor of positive mental mind state. Cool. So we got to start somewhere. And if you have meditated before or, and whatnot, you've probably done breathing meditation. That's where we're going to start. Breathing meditation is often kind of the entry point here, and for good reason. Your breath is always with you, right? So if we can start to make this connection of, I have my breath, and I focus on my breath, and I start to relax a little bit, we start to feel empowered that we can use this technique, whenever we need to, really. Our breath is always there, right? So we're going to start with doing a little breathing meditation together. And the fancy name for this is single-pointed concentration. It's much fancier, right? But all it means is we're focusing on one thing, single-pointedly concentrating on something. We're going to single-pointedly concentrate on our breath so much that all the other busyness in our mind, worries about work tomorrow, worries about something that happened earlier, they're going to start to fade away a little bit. Right? Similar concept, if you ever kind of been in the zone, maybe you're working on a presentation or something at work, super plugged in, you forget to eat lunch, all the noises in the office, it's like they kind of go away. They're there, but it's as if they've faded, right? We're so concentrated that there's no more room in our mind for all the other busyness, right? So we're going to start to train in doing this voluntarily, right? And this is really the foundation for teaching you to become familiar with something, right? Right now, we're going to teach our mind to become familiar with focusing on our breath. And at first, our mind's going to be like, what are you doing? I don't focus on one thing. I focus on 6,000 things. That's what I've always done. I don't know what this new thing is you're doing, but I'm not really into it. Our mind does what it has been taught to do. And so it's going to take some time for us to train our mind to see the value in focusing on one thing, right? So let's start there. And instructionally, breathing meditation is pretty straightforward. It's 3 steps. Step 1 is you're just going to make a choice to focus single-pointedly on your breath. So do that, right? We're, just going to be like, okay, I'm going to focus on my breath, and that's it. Like making a little promise to ourselves. And then I'll be guiding us through this, don't worry. But while we're focusing on our breath, if we ever catch ourselves drifting, right, our attention's starting to think about work again, right, we're going to say, not right now. That's kind of our saying for ourselves. Not right now to those thoughts. We're not labeling them as bad, useless. They're important, just like anything else, but just not right now, right? So that's our kind of little mantra here. Not right now to those thoughts, and then we're going to bring our attention back to breathing. That's it. Choose to focus on your breath. Notice when your attention drifts. Bring your attention back to breathing. All right? That's breathing meditation. Cool? All right. So let's do it. And you can see I'm sitting in a chair. I am not cross-legged on the floor, on a hard wooden floor. If you want to sit on a cushion on the floor, go ahead. If you'd like to be in a comfy chair, that's fine. You're tired, lay down, doesn't matter. There is no perfect, there's no like way you need to sit in order for this to work. The goal is to just to have you alert but comfortable. That way you're not kind of focusing on how uncomfortable you are. We don't need another distraction in there. All right, so get comfy. You can go ahead and close your eyes, and I'm going to guide us through about a 5-minute breathing meditation. Okay. Whenever we start a meditation, first thing we do, check in. Check in with yourself. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? What is my mind up to? Maybe you're feeling tired after a long day. Maybe you're feeling energetic. Maybe you're feeling happy. Maybe you're feeling a bit melancholy. Whatever it is, it's perfectly fine. We're not doing anything about it. We're just noticing what our mind feels like right now. This is an important part of finding balance, mental balance throughout the day. Being aware of what's going on. This is called mindfulness, an active awareness of your own thoughts, moment to moment, for the purpose of being able to respond skillfully to those thoughts. So just take a moment, check in. Having done that, you can now make a choice. We're going to choose to focus single-pointedly on your breath. Breathing in, breathing out, very gently and very naturally. You do not need to take big, deep breaths. You do not need to forcefully exhale. Just breathe however comes natural to you, in and out. As you begin to relax a little bit into your chair or cushion, single-pointedly focused on breathing in and out, very gently and very naturally. At some point, you might notice your attention drifting a bit. Maybe you're thinking about something that happened earlier today. Maybe you're thinking about something you have to do later after this class has finished. Whenever you notice your mind drifting in this way, we can just very gently say not right now to those thoughts. We'll get to them later. And then purposefully guide your focus back to your breath. Back to breathing in, breathing out. Very gently and very naturally. We are single pointingly focused on each moment of each breath. Breaking down the entire breathing process into individual moments, following the journey of the air as it enters our body as we inhale, fills our lungs with life, and then we follow that air as we exhale, sending it back into the atmosphere. Breathing in, breathing out. Gently, naturally, as you begin to relax a little bit more into your chair or cushion. Keep bringing your attention back to your breath whenever you catch it drifting. This process of choosing to focus single-pointedly on your breath, noticing when your attention has drifted and being able to guide your attention back to your breath, that is breathing meditation. You are meditating right now. You are training your mind to access its natural peaceful state, to become familiar with its peacefulness. You are training your mind to focus on what you want to focus on. How wonderful. And right now, the only thing that you're focusing on is breathing in and out, gently and naturally. So for the next few moments, just continue to enjoy sitting here breathing. That's it. Okay, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Hello. Welcome back. Hopefully that was relaxing. If that was your first time, maybe you found it to be challenging. Well, my mind's busy. I got news for you. All of our minds are busy. I've been meditating a long time. There's times where I sit down to meditate and I'm like, whoa, my mind is all over the place, right? The goal here is not to never get distracted. Sometimes we think like, oh, if I'm not a good meditator, if my mind drifts, right? Your mind's gonna drift. Your mind thinks, for our whole lives, we've let our mind think whatever it wants, whenever it wants, right? So it's kind of used to doing that. So our mind's gonna drift, right? The goal isn't to have it not drift, but to recognize when it is, and be like, hey, I know you want to think about that, but not right now. We're doing the breathing thing, right? Recognition, early recognition, and being able to like skillfully guide your attention back to the thing you're wanting to focus on. This is the practice of meditation, and this is how we can become really familiar with things, right? We're trying to teach our mind to become familiar with focusing on one thing. We're awareness. Very good. Yeah. We're master multitaskers, right? We do it all day long. Even some of us think we're not. We're like, I'm not a good multitasker. But you multitask constantly. Like I just moved my microphone while talking. This is me multitasking. Almost everything we do in our lives is multitasking, right? And so our mind is so used to it. So when we're like explicitly being like, mind, we're not multitasking here. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I multitask. This is a training, and it's a slow burn, and it takes some time, but a little bit of practice each day, you're going to start to see some benefits. The most important thing isn't how long you meditate or whatever. If you're meditating in a peaceful, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is consistency. Maybe that's 30 seconds in the morning. Cool. Go for it. All right. Doesn't matter how long. Consistency is the most important way to see results here. Cool. Okay. All right. So I didn't mention this. I almost always do, but I forgot. If you do have any questions, feel free to ask me in the chat at any time. I'm going to start to talk about our topic for today, but if you have any questions about what we just did, feel free to send those through, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. Okay. Today we're talking about a very cool topic. At least I think so. And it is, I think it's a good topic for expanding what we think we can do with meditation and how it can help us throughout the day, right? Because, maybe we're here to relax, right? But we can't always just like stop and close our eyes and meditate every time we're, having a problem. Sometimes that just isn't in the cards. It's not available for us. And so what we're going to talk about today is looking at what I'll call like opposing forces. So let's think about anger and patience. They're kind of like opposites, right? If we got a lot of anger, our patience is kind of plummeting. And if we're the other way, and we got a lot of patience, our anger is dissipating. So we're going to look at these like kind of opposing forces to become a little familiar with them. And the goal here is that you'll become familiar with these things. So when, the next time you're feeling frustrated, right, you'll be like, oh, yeah, I remember the old opposing forces class. What's the antidote here? What do I need? Patience. And then Keith did a meditation on that, and I can't remember it. Right? Right? So we're gonna start to build out our tool belt of self-care. All right? Sound good? All right. So normally when we respond, like how do we respond to situations? Right? Something happens. Whatever it is. And then we have a instinctive mental response, a thought. Now, sometimes this is so fast, we don't even notice it, Sometimes we like physical, instinct, we jump back or something like that. But there's always there has to be a thought, jump back, right? It's just really fast. So something happens, we have an instinctual mental thought, and then we have a physical response to this thing. Right. And then later on, we sometimes very later on, we analyze this physical response to see if it was correct. We're like, oh, yeah, I got really upset about that thing, but I don't know, I probably shouldn't have. That's happened to me a bunch of times. So this is kind of our cadence, right? And what we're going to try to do is switch things up a little bit. We're going to make one really important change. Something's going to happen still, then we're going to have our instinctive mental response. And then we're going to analyze that thought. We're going to create some space and analyze our mental response before doing a physical response. right? So adding this step, which is kind of like rearranging it a little bit, is really important for being able to utilize some of the techniques we've been talking about, right? We talk about a lot of different techniques for helping with anger and jealousy and loneliness. Like we always do a different topic each class. There's all these meditations and all these different tips that we're talking about. They are like tools in our tool belt, and we got to know when to use them, right? So we're going to build out our tool belt a little bit. And so we think about wearing. I don't know if you're very handy. I'm not, though. I have been. I've been forced to since becoming a homeowner. I'm a first-time homeowner, and I'm realizing it's quite a lot of work. And so I'm trying to be handy to the best of my ability, So sometimes, let me answer this question. JD, normally we react, not respond. The difference is taking the time to think about how we want to respond. Just your 2 cents. Yeah. That space is really important, right? There's this in-between moment between the thing happening, the thought happening, and then like us carrying out some sort of action. And in that spot, right, that's where we can either have a really positive response to something, negative response, or even just analyze what's going on, right? Sometimes it's just everything's really happening very quickly, right? It's great. Thank you. When you're fixing something in the house, you got your tool belt on, and inside the tool belt, we got tools, right? Now, that's great, but we also need the instruction manuals. I know nobody reads these, right? But for someone like me, who I'm new to home repair, there's a lot of tools and I don't know what they do. And so I have to read the instruction manual, which is good because the tools are useless if I don't know what they do, right? So these 3 things, the tool belt, the tools, and the instruction manual, we're going to kind of make an analogy to our mind and how it operates, right? So our tool belt is our mind, right? We got our tool strapped around our waist. It's kind of going with us wherever we go. Our mind's going with us, right? And just like the tool belt, the mind is a great place to store things for when we need them, right? Memories, experiences, teachings, they're all in here somewhere, right? It's just, maybe it's a little unorganized, and we go and find them, right? Sometimes a situation will come up and be like, oh, I remember that this happened, right? I'll do this, right? So our mind is like our tool belt, right? And the methods in which we will kind of like make use of our mind is with the tools in our tool belt. What we put into our mind is what we're able to recall, right? So like these classes, any type of learning, any type of experience, doesn't have to be like a formal lecture or something like that, life experience. Everything we learn is a tool. All right. If you've been coming to these classes for a while, we've talked about, we've done gratitude meditations, we've done breathing meditations, we've done meditations on thanking our body, right? We've done all these different things, right? They're all tools inside of our mind, right? Waiting to be used in the right moment, right? And look, sometimes we can use a tool in 2 different ways, right? So there's some flexibility here. Right? So we got our tool belt in our mind. We got the tools that we're learning by coming into these meditation classes, by reading, absorbing information about self-care and how we can, better respond to things. We have that. But we also need the old instruction manual, the thing nobody wants to read, right? And we can think of the instruction manual here as mindfulness. We talked a little bit about this in the meditation. I mentioned it. Mindfulness is an active awareness of your thoughts moment to moment. Why? There's a purpose. The purpose is so you can respond skillfully, so you can use the right tool, right? So if there's no gap in between thought and kind of action or whatever response. We're literally just reaching our hand into our tool belt and taking out a tool and using it. Right? And sometimes we might get it right. We take out the hammer. We're like, oh, that's actually what I needed. But sometimes when we're not thinking about it, we take out the wrong one. Right? And so we want to use the tools that we have been gaining by working on self-care in our mind through meditation. We want to use them to kind of be the antidote of whatever's going on in our mind and whatever negative thing is happening, right? So this is where we're getting into this idea of opposing forces. Every mental state has a kind of counterpoint to it, Like you think about like people arm wrestling. I don't know. Like I haven't arm wrestled with somebody in like 20 years, but it's like, oh, you're pushing it this way, and then they're pushing back, right? Like, it's like a little back and forth, right? So this is the balance of these kind of mental states, right? So we talked. I briefly mentioned anger and patience. This is a good one. It pops up a lot. Anger we can define as when we think things should be different than they are. Anxiety falls into here. Sometimes we don't think about anxiety as a form of anger, but it's almost like a self-anger. I shouldn't be worried about this. Why am I so upset about this all the time, right? These are feelings of frustration, of anger, right? And we're arm wrestling and the anger is starting to win. It's starting to pin us down. And we have to remember what the opposing force is to our anger, right? So in this case, patience, right? And we've done a good amount of meditations on patience. We're going to do one today. It's one of my favorites, the mountain meditation. We'll do that in a little bit. But being able to create that space to think, okay, this is how my mind's feeling. What are the techniques that I've learned to help with it? What are the tools I need? This is where we want to focus on, right? So another kind of set of opposing forces that we might experience is jealousy, right? And we all have thoughts of that jealousy. Even if we don't consider ourselves to be like a jealous person, somebody wins the lottery, we're like, damn. That would be so cool. I wish that happened to me. Why does it seem like nothing like that ever happens to me? Right? And so those feelings might come up, or somebody gets a promotion, at work and we didn't, or somebody gets complimented and we didn't, right? All these things are kind of feelings of jealousy. What's the opposing force of jealousy? Right? Rejoicing in others' good fortune. Right? Somebody gets a promotion. You know what? Maybe they really needed it. Maybe they actually needed it more than we did, financially or even, mentally to help build them up. Like, we don't know, and so we can, instead of kind of going the other way, we can be happy for them, right? They wanted it just as much as we did and they got it, and, that's cool for them. So this is another thing we've done some meditations on gratitude. This is where this would come into play, right? Gratitude, rejoicing in others' good fortune. So we can recall some of the things that we've talked about. Procrastination, big one for me, always doing it. Procrastination and effort are like, they're the opposing forces of each other, right? And so if we're finding that we're procrastinating, and we've done a lot of meditations on procrastination, right? What do we need to do? What kind of things do I need to bring to mind? Classes, concepts, things I've read. What do I need to bring to mind? Use my mindfulness to recall it, to help tilt the scales a little bit in the other direction. Okay. Cool. And then the last one I'll mention is a big sweeping one, and one of the bigger ones for meditation specifically. And that would be the relationship between what they call it ignorance And wisdom, ignorance is kind of a weird word, I think, for it, because I don't know. Sometimes we think of ignorance as like it's like kind of like malicious, like intentional, but here it's like you can think of it as a lack of investigation, right? Taking things at face value, right? Not investigating things, right? That's kind of like the definition of wisdom in meditation world. Knowing the way things actually are versus the way that they appear to be, right? And the opposite of that would be what they call ignorance, right? And we can see this all the time, right? So somebody cuts us off on the highway. We're like, this person is such a, they don't care about anybody. How can they do that? You know, but me, that's the way things appear. It appears that they're just a really bad person who doesn't care about anyone but themselves. But I don't know, maybe they're like racing to the hospital to go see a family member. And they're just like, didn't even think about it. Or maybe their mind was elsewhere. They had a tough day. Like, I've cut people off by accident, So this idea of investigating things a little further, right, is this concept of wisdom versus ignorance, right? And this encompasses all the things that we talk about. So I'm not going to spend any more time in that. But this is the kind of takeaway from today, right? We have all these things we're learning as you come here, right? And even elsewhere. It's not just here. You're learning things constantly. We have all these great tools in our tool belt up here, right? And we have to think about when we're going to use them, right? When they should be used. And then we have to practice checking in with ourselves, mindfulness. So that way we create this gap, this space for us to be able to recall the tools that we have, how to use them, and apply them. Cool? Okay. So I want to do a meditation that is kind of focused on the anger-patience relationship. You might have heard of this style, type of meditation called mountain meditation. I've done it here a couple times. It's very fun. I like it. And it can be used for a lot of different things. Like I said, one tool can be used many different ways. But one way that this meditation can be used is to help reinforce the idea of patience, right? And you'll see, I'm going to guide us through. It's like a visual meditation. I think you'll like it. It's pretty relaxing. But the goal here is to kind of reinforce this concept of like, hey, I can get through these things. I'm resilient. I am patient, right? I have that. That's me. We forget that sometimes, right? And so doing this meditation, what happens? We become really familiar with patient you, right? The patient version of yourself, and it starts to show up more often. The arm wrestling match starts to go in favor of patience. Right? Cool. Any questions on anything that we talked about today, or any thoughts? You don't have to, but I'd like to take a moment to just give you a second to ask if you want. If not, and by the way, I will give you my email after, at the end of the session. If you have any questions that come up, you can always email me. And I know I'm behind on emails for people that have emailed me. I'm very sorry. I wasn't feeling well for the last couple of days, and so I just needed like a kind of mental reset. So I'm gonna get to all that. But I appreciate you being patient with me. Thanks. All right. Okay. So we're gonna do another short meditation together to close out our session, and it's gonna start pretty much the same way that we did previously. So make sure you're nice and comfy. That's step one. Now, maybe you thought you'd be really comfortable in that chair of yours, and you're like, oh man, this chair wasn't that comfortable. Right? Change it up. Doesn't matter. Right? The beauty of meditation is there's no checklist of things that have to happen for you to do this. Right? It's a really important aspect of meditation. Sometimes we can think we need perfect quiet. That'd be nice, but I don't know about you, my life is not filled with a lot of perfect quiet moments, and so if I require that in order to relax, I'm going to be a little disappointed, right? So it's actually sometimes it can be good to change up, our seating arrangement, or whatnot, to prove to ourselves that we can do this independent of these conditions. All right, so get comfy. You can go ahead and close your eyes, and I'm going to guide us through another meditation. Okay. Once again, let's start by checking in. How are you feeling right now in this very moment? We're not comparing it to before. Before is done. Just now, how do you feel right now? We are practicing mindfulness, a skill we now know is crucial for us to be able to maintain mental balance and positivity throughout the day, understanding what is going on in your mind so you can use the right tool to respond. So we're taking a moment, we're checking in. Having done that, we can now, just for a little while, return our attention to our breath. Single-pointedly focused, breathing in and out, just to relax a little bit. All of the thoughts buzzing about your mind, we can let them just fade into the background as we focus single-pointedly on breathing in, breathing out, relaxing a bit into our chair or cushion. And if you notice your attention drifting away from your breath, no problem. We can just say not right now to those thoughts. We'll get to them later. And then guide your attention back to breathing. This too is an exercise in mindfulness, being aware of what your mind is up to, and being able to bring your mind back to breathing. Gentle, smooth breaths in and out. No goal or expectation, just breathing. Relaxing. Existing here in this moment. Just you and each moment of each breath. So, having relaxed a little bit with breathing meditation, I now want to do a visual meditation called the mountain meditation. For this, you can just follow along with what I'm saying and enjoy it. I'd like you to bring to mind the most perfect, majestic mountain you can possibly imagine. Just bring it to mind. Picture it in all of its detail. And on the mountain, your mountain, it's summertime. Trees are green, shrubs lush, rivers flowing heartily, wildflowers. Just imagine it. Animals grazing on the mountainside, enjoying the beautiful weather, enjoying the mountain. Summer turns to fall, and with fall comes some changes in weather. It gets colder. The greenery is not so green. It's changing colors. Some of the animals, they're getting ready to hibernate for winter. The external conditions of the mountain, they've changed. They're not the same as summer. But inside the mountain, at the mountain's core, nothing has changed. It is exactly as it was in summer. Fall turns to winter. With winter in the mountains comes some pretty harsh conditions. Snow, blizzards even. All of the vegetation has died. The rivers, lakes, they're frozen. All of the animals are hibernating. The external conditions of the mountain have changed. But inside, at the mountain's core, everything remains exactly as it's always been. The same as it was in fall, the same as it was in summer. Winter turns to spring, the snow thaws, animals start to come out of hibernation, vegetation starts to retain its green. But in spring, sometimes, we can get some thunderstorms. And maybe one day, there's a very powerful thunderstorm, and a bolt of lightning strikes the side of the mountain, cracking it. Leaving a permanent scar on the outside of the mountain. The external conditions of the mountain have changed. But inside, there is no scar. The mountain is the same as it always was. Through winter, fall, summer, spring, completely unchanged, immovable. We need to think of ourselves as mountains. Our external conditions are constantly changing, sometimes beneficial, sometimes not. Just like changing weather. But regardless of what we're experiencing, whether it's frustration, loneliness, anxiety, know that at your core, you are immovable. At your core, you are a patient, generous, kind, wonderful person. Those qualities are you. They're always there. They do not change. And we can learn to let some of the weather pass by, knowing that deep down at our core, we still have those wonderful qualities. We can let them shine. We can remember the core of the mountain, even when the outside is experiencing some woes. So just for the next few moments, just sit with this. Imagine yourself as an immovable mountain. Okay. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. Return to your human form. So that was the mountain meditation. It's anytime we do look, like I said in the beginning, meditation is just we're single pointedly concentrating on something. So in this case, we were single pointedly concentrating on this image, right, of the mountain, the changing scenery, and we're so focused on it that all the other stuff, the sounds, they start to fade away, and we're really plugged into this image. So we're meditating on this image, right? It's the same technique as using our breath. We're just swapping what the object of our meditation is. JD, I like when you said about telling your thoughts, not right now. Yeah, that's oh yeah, this is really good for kind of like addictive tendencies, because sometimes our inclination is, oh no, I'm thinking about this again, right? And our mind thinks. We're not like, getting mad at our mind for thinking about things. And we're not saying that those things are not important, or not something that we can think about once in a while. But we're saying not right now. We're taking back ownership of our thoughts, right? Like our mind's kind of like a bad pet. We've been letting it get, it jumps on the couch, It's been doing that for 30-something years. And then all of a sudden we're like, hey, you can't be on the couch. That's like, why? I've always been on the couch, So we got to train our mind a little bit to kind of obey us a little bit more, right? Right now our mind seems to be at the driving a lot of the times, right? Good. I'm glad you found that helpful. Pat, thanks. I appreciate that. Okay, so that's the class for today. Hope you had a nice time. If you did, come on back. I do this every week, barring some sort of event I must go to. Thanks, Ellen. I appreciate that. I will be here next week. We'll talk. I don't know. Maybe we're going to do what Riley suggested. We're going to do something on mindfulness. right? So that'll be our topic for next week. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel and you'd like to, that'd be cool. Puts a big smile on my face. Helpful for me. Also, a lot of good benefits for you. All my old videos, they're up there. You know, maybe you're like, I'd like to know about anxiety, Keith, not the mountain meditation. Well, you can peruse through my old videos and maybe find one that would be helpful for you. So anyone who chooses to subscribe, I thank you in advance. And if you are like, hey, this is pretty cool, I'm into meditation, I'd like to see what this can do for me. I teach one-on-one classes, which is a really good setting for focusing on things that are really pertinent to you. We all have come here, for something, whether it's to be less stressed or be less anxious, whatever. We've all come here for a thing. And so we can focus on that specifically together. I do them over Zoom. It's very casual. So if that sounds interesting to you, just email me and we can find a time to get together. I'm going to put my email in the chat right now. It is keith@meditationbreaks.com. And now I will type it. And I've typed it with no spelling mistakes. A great day. That's my email. If you have any questions about anything as you're, practicing on your own, feel free to email me, or if you're interested in a one-on-one class, just, fire an email my way. And again, thank you for your patience as I was kind of catching up on some of the emails that are outstanding. Leslie, thank you for subscribing. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Appreciate everyone for being here. Patricia, Patrick, Sekia, JD, Andre, Beverly, Janice, Wanda, Rosa, Shelly. Thank you guys all for taking time out of your day to be here. I love teaching. Couldn't do it without you guys. And so very grateful for you taking time out of your busy day to be here. Hope you found this relaxing, and good luck meditating on your own. A little bit each day. Doesn't have to be a lot. And I hope to see you all next week. All right. Take care.